So like everything, if you identify an issue, of course, a cert gives you a tremendous ability to diagnose issues of looking at dashes versus the nice clean dots. But if you do recognize a deficiency, if that laser, which tells a story, a bullet hole's a moment in time, but the laser is a full story, all right? Just showing an oscilloscope like action, what's all going on there, okay? How do we fix it? How do we fix it, all right? First off, like, you know, when you diagnose bullet holes, you may see like a low left shot, all right? Well, was that a muzzle alignment with sights or natural point of aim, or was it a trigger mechanic issue? That's the first phase of diagnosing some issues, right? Well, since we're in trigger control isolation, we're shooting in one hand, very likely this is a trigger control issue, and you'll see something like this, all right? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but even a small little dash is bad because a small dash will turn into a bigger dash when they're under time pressure, believe me, okay? Okay, we've identified an issue. You're the coach, you're an instructor, coach. How do you remedy it? Well, think about this a little bit. Let's think about our anatomy again. Let's look at our trigger finger, all right? We have 3 rotary motion devices called joints, okay? They're in this, you know, say this horizontal plane like this, and they're kind of going this way to the left. And as we know with pistol craft, and we put a clock, like for right-handed shooter, you know, low left, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock shots is common deficiency, and it's commonly a trigger mechanic issue. Why? Because, you know, the hand just wants to push it. Now, sometimes there's milking the gun. If you have a rope grip, that's another issue which can creep in, okay? But regardless, okay, that's the root cause. How do we fix it, right? How do we fix it? Well, the trigger, let's look at the equipment now. The trigger pivots about, you know, this axis like this, okay? Well, we're pushing like this, like in the, you know, left to right way. And it even lifts a little bit too. You know, 1911s go straight back, but you know, most old striker fires, they pivot and they lift a little bit. So I don't know who or what this is designed for, but it's not really designed for a human, but it's kind of the best thing we got right now, technology-wise. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take the trigger finger and determine what is touching the trigger. What part of the body, all right, what part of that trigger finger is touching the trigger? That's what I want to focus on. I do not care if it is tip, first knuckle, or middle in between. I don't care, okay? Just like I didn't mention it before, but I don't care if there's straight arm or bent arm or anything like that, you know, as far as the extension. People naturally kind of roll into that full extension, bent arm or straight arm, okay? That's a side note. But again, with trigger mechanics, they may just touch the tip like I do. They may go first knuckle like some institutions teach, all right, high-level institutions. But either way, whatever is touching the trigger, okay, for me it's a tip, I'm going to tie my magic string. I'm going to pull the string. What I'm going to do as I pull, it's going to look a lot like this, all right? I'm pulling to the side of the strong side, which is my right side. So I'm pulling almost to my right ear, okay? That's my direction of pull, all right? And as you can see right here, as I pull, I'm giving this flesh, the tip of my finger, an aiming point where to travel, where to go, okay? It's kind of like having an end in mind. So all these joints have to cooperate and work together to have that tip of the finger to go basically high and outside, not straight back, and I'll talk about it in a second. You'd think, well, why not just straight back? Well, let's cheat it a little bit. Let's go high and outside, all right? So all I'm really doing here is I'm giving this flesh an aiming point of where I want to go. I can feel some mobility in particularly that first big knuckle joint too, having to form just to do that. So I can do that just without anything. And the reason I don't just have it static right here is if you do it static, it doesn't really work for some reason. It's almost like you can't really figure out where to put it. But if you pull, like you have like a vector, a line right here, it's easy. Just, you know, validate for yourself. And mind you too, I say magic strengths. I teach this no matter who I'm teaching, what federal agencies or, you know, kill team, whatever. I mean, so the magic string is it's goofy and it's silly, but it works, and I tell it to you, okay? So all right, so we do this. Now let's put the cert in a pistol. Now this is why it's magic, because the string has to go through all this matter right here, you know, and I can't see it, but I get the same idea now, okay? And the reason I'm pulling this, like I'm moving, I move this, my trigger finger moves somewhat commensurate with that, you know, like I'm pulling it back. So I'm going to do it on the lens here. I'm going to kind of pull back and hit a shot and hit a shot and hit a shot. What we're doing is we're giving an aiming point, not an aiming point for the pistol, but where to place the flesh of the trigger, on how to press the trigger. And we're going high and outside, because if we go straight back, it tends to still go to the left. If we cheat it and go high and outside, I'll give you a view like this. If I cheat it and go high and outside, it tends to, particularly when I do it at speed, okay, it tends to like straighten out to where it's ultimately straight back. There might be an issue where you start hooking it out like this. All right, maybe that I don't really see that very often though, okay? But either way, that's kind of overcorrecting it, so from where it wants to go generally, which is low left for a right-handed shooter, low right for a left-handed shooter. Another point here is you're giving the students something to do and think about to get more reps in, okay? And it's weird, as far as coaching principles, I'm really big on coaching, as you can tell, versus just instructing and delivering information, even though this was unilateral, speaking to a camera. But for some reason, when we give students, or players or what have you, something to think about, even if it is total bullshit, what we tell them, like if it's a batter and you say, okay, when this ball comes in, I want you to breathe through that left eyelid now and really like wind up and swing. Like, what the hell, breathe through your left eyelid when you swing. I'm not suggesting like nonsensical coaching points, but I'm just saying there's something about just giving some lead lines of hope, all right, to a student, to a player, to your, to your protege, to go forward and continue, because the reality is they keep going and they get some feedback, they will fix it. All right, they will fix it, and they will just by closing the loop of saying, okay, I want a dot, not a dash. Keep going, and they're going to figure it out. It's best to give them something to put them further, faster down that path. Okay. But that's it. So that's why the lasers are so important, because without the laser, it's kind of like shooting basketball against a brick wall. Oh, that was good form, or just dry firing, that was good form. Well, and I go through some stories in the live class there in development of the cert. It's not. I mean, you've got to have the feedback. You got to have the hoop. A minimum viable, system is have the hoop, so you get it's to swish and your form is good. Shooting baskets against a brick wall doesn't work. Just dry firing doesn't work. You don't know if you're doing good quality of movement. The lasers, they let you know if it's quality of movement, all right? Dots, not dashes. Dots, not dashes. Okay. Whew, we covered a bit there. We did indeed cover a bit. Okay, I think we're doing good. Let's continue on.